Welcome to Business on the Vine. I'm your host, Lady Jen Duplessis, and in this dynamic series, we dive into the challenges, breakthroughs, and victories of entrepreneurs who have turned their passion into success. Welcome. Welcome to Business on the Vine. I'm your host, Lady Jen Duplessis. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And I am here with Katherine. And you're so funny how you just did that. So I love that. But I want to do something a little more formal, right? Sure. And let everyone know that you are a professional presence expert, and that's so needed in business, right? Who helps leaders and their teams walk the walk and talk the talk and look the part. Be present. I love that. You're passionate about achieving gender parity in her lifetime. And through her coaching, consulting, speaking, she works with women and champions of women to get more women into senior leadership faster. And she's got tons of accolades that you can read in her bio that we will have in the show notes here. But I am delighted to have you here, Katherine. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm so glad to be here in the vineyard.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely in a vineyard today. Well, and you're in such a great serene background, which is so perfect for your brand. It's perfect for your professional presence expert. I absolutely love that. And
my little office, actually.
Oh, really? It looks really beautiful. And if you're not watching the video, you're missing out on something. I'm getting zenny as we're talking.
This is good.
Getting zenny. So let's talk a little bit about what exactly you do, because I know you're passionate about helping women move into that champion and that leadership. Leadership is my thing, right? This is what I do. I'm leadership too. Leadership is mine. But you work with women specifically. It's something I chose not to do, interestingly enough. Yeah, my husband always says to me, you should just work with women. I like working with everybody. So for me, it's different. But tell us a little bit about this, because, for someone who's listening in and they're saying, well, I'm a woman, I want to hear what she has to say, or I'm a man and I've got a woman manager and I want to help her go forward and lead. Give us a sense of what you think the challenge or the struggle is for most women in leadership and how you help them get to the other side.
It's interesting because I do work primarily with women, and I do work with a very few brave men, very brave men. And I think the biggest struggle for all leaders right now is shifting from the old model, which is authoritative, hierarchical, compartmentalized, into integrated, relational, and whole.
Yeah.
So my work is helping people become embodied. So you know who you are, you know what you're meant to do on the planet, and you have all of the tools that you need in order to be the best version of yourself so you can do it faster, do it more effectively. I don't want to say faster specifically because everything happens in the time it's supposed to happen.
Right.
That it gives you the advantage so that don't have to explain yourself to people. They know who you are when they meet you, just based on your energy, because you're so solid in who you are. It comes across without having to say a word.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk about emotional intelligence here in a little bit, because I think that has a lot to do with it. But when you talk about relationship, I think I know the answer. I just want you to be the expert, right? Where does the relationship in business as a leader start?
I think it starts from the first time you meet somebody. Even before, it starts when you pick up a resume, or it starts when you have that first text conversation or the first email. That's when the relationship begins. I think when leaders wait, like if they're either coming into an organization or someone is coming in new to them, when they wait for a business interaction or something more formal to actually start the relationship, I think that's a mistake.
Interesting.
It's
especially with large companies, right?
Yes, it's the first thing. One of my favorite leaders that I work with, she makes an absolute point. I mean, this is just who she is.
Yeah.
But she makes an absolute point of knowing things about people because she loves people. And people love her for it. And I think when people try to, I've seen it done both ways. I worked with a woman who literally kept a binder full of like the Hoover binder full of details on people. And I'm like, okay, I appreciate the energy, but I'm also like, wow, that's That's a little over the
Well, and
top.
that's an old way of doing it. I mean, you still have to
Super
monitor,
old way
you
of
still
doing it.
have to do it, but you know, it's like, oh, I'm running into my office and I'm writing down at 2:22, you
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. Yeah.
No, or this person said this about their dog, or
Yeah. Yeah.
like I appreciate the sort of aid memoir, like the memory aid, but the people that I know that do it really well, and I work on this myself, and sometimes I forget because I meet a
Mhm.
lot of people, but I always want to, in that moment, have a genuine conversation with somebody.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes what gets in the way for leaders is they have this idea of I am a leader. And absolutely there are professional boundaries for sure.
Right.
But they forget that now people want you to show up as a human being first and a leader second. And
Mhm.
I think that's very difficult for my leaders, particularly leaders have had really early success and they're in the C-suite when they're 40, or if they're older, like my 50, 60-year-old leaders that I work with. I had one of my favorite old white guys. He's amazing. But right, we are sitting in my office and he said, I wish, these kids would just come to work and do the job I pay them to do and go home. And I don't want to hear about their traumas and blah, 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 blah. And I looked him in the face and I said, honey, they don't need to change. You need to change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are you going to adapt or are you going to be a dinosaur? Because you can be a dinosaur if you want, and we'll still love you as a dinosaur,
Mhm.
but you won't live for very long.
Yeah. Well, and you know, and I think that's one of the challenges. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. So just bear with me for a second.
Sure.
You know, I want to talk about the dinosaur in a few minutes. Not the
I
dinosaur.
love the dinosaurs.
But the you know, there's I think that to be a good leader, right? To be a good leader, I think one of the relationships you have to have is a good relationship with yourself.
100%.
So how much of what you do is working on the mindset, you know, and I'm going back to the emotional intelligence too, right? Is learning that, because what you're talking about, this guy, you know, we will come back to dinosaur, but there's another aspect of him is that he doesn't have a good relationship with himself.
No, I've noticed that the people that have the hardest time with this are the ones that don't know how to feel their feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and they wear their leadership like armor,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a shield. And I often tell my clients it's the difference between the power of the river and the power of the rock.
Mm-hmm.
So historically, it's
That.
the
Yeah.
power of the rock. You've been shielded up, you're in your fortress, you're behind those big walls.
And the
And
desk.
now
Yeah.
the world is calling for the power of the river.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of more like, on the spectrum of masculine and feminine energy.
Right.
The
Right.
world is crying out for the power of the river. And the river eventually erodes the rock. No
Yes.
one questions the power of the river. The river can be small and light and burbly. The river can be ferocious rapids. The river can be wide and deep like Shenandoah. The river can be lazy. It can be fast and contained. It has so much more flexibility than the power of the rock.
Yeah.
So I encourage my leaders to soften, and it can be incredibly hard, because this is the other thing I think women need to learn, is
Yes.
that women need to hold men in their softness,
Yeah.
because men are not allowed historically to be soft. You can be angry, you can be happy, you can be an achiever, you can be a workaholic, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not allowed to be a crying mess in your bed when something is sad, which men are human, and men cry, and men should
Yeah.
cry, and men
Well,
should be
they're
able to be
taught at
soft.
a young age,
I
you know,
know.
stiffer lip, get a stiffer lip, shake it off.
Yeah, I know. The patriarchy has screwed us all.
Yeah. So,
Really.
but women, I think also, and I know I'm a product of this, okay, because I have worn armor for a long time. It's so funny. This is like the sixth time the word armor has come up today, and
Oh,
you know, being in a royal order,
yeah.
we talk about armor all the time because I'm knighted, so I wear armor,
Yeah.
right, and a sword, right.
Mm.
But a lot of women who, at least in my generation, you know, I'm a baby boomer.
Okay.
I'm a
I'm a
baby
Gen
boomer,
X.
and by like, you know, 6 weeks, and I would have been a Gen Xer. So I'm a cusper, right?
Yes.
I have these tendencies on both sides.
Mhm.
But the way that I was raised in corporate, was to keep a stiff upper lip. Don't
Of course.
show your emotion. You know,
Absolutely.
oh, you're the token woman in the group, right?
Yes.
There's a softening that needs to happen with women as well, I think.
Yeah. When I speak of men and women, I'm not necessarily talking about gender. I'm talking about the energetics of it.
I get it. Yeah,
Because
I get it.
any women that have been socialized, particularly in male dominated fields, are going to act like dudes, because
Yeah,
the non-dominant group always has to adapt to the dominant group
that's right.
in
That's,
order to survive. So
yeah.
the interesting thing about that, I find, is that women, as the non-dominant group, will know more about men than men will ever know about themselves,
Yes.
and can help men really see themselves as complete
Yeah.
humans. But when I talk to my men about it, I'm a little bit more vulgar, but when I talk to my men about it, I said, you know, you want women to feed you and you,
Uh-huh.
but that is a tiny, tiny, infinitesimal fraction of women, what women are designed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Women are designed to hold the container.
Hmm.
And what happened many years ago when Constantine came into the church and decided to make it patriarchal, destroyed all the representation of women. So now in our world, this is why, like, because women are no longer the container holders, we're no longer the people who manage the resources, we're no longer the people who have financial power, we're no longer the people who hold counsel and help provide spaces for men to do the production that they do so well. This is why everything is short term and our dishwashers break after 5 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the people that are in charge are thinking along the short term and not thinking on the long term. And I think this is based a little bit in our human, like in our humanity, where men operate on a 24-hour hormonal cycle. So it
And we
makes
are.
absolute sense for them to do
Absolutely.
the same thing, the same way, the same time, all the time, every day.
Yeah.
So women get a bad rap for being unpredictable, but women are incredibly predictable over a longer 28-day cycle. And every phase of their cycle has a specific energy attached to it that
Yeah.
can be activated to do specific things in the world. So I really think
Love
what we're
that.
seeing
Yeah.
now is like a restoration of the balance between that kind of long-term containering energy and this short-term productive energy. And we need to have both. And I say to my men, I'm like, look, if you really want us to build you a hall, you really want us to feed you at the feast, and you really want us to,
Uh-huh.
then you need to give us our finances back.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to give us the power that we were originally invested with,
Hmm.
so that we can hold you in the way you're crying out to be held.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's very interesting you talk about, I'm thankful because my 40-year career was in financial services. So I've got my money, right? I've
Yeah,
got
you
the
know,
money, peace of
you're
mind.
good.
So
Yeah.
it creates a really good balance for me where, my husband's Italian.
Hmm.
And so he's like, strike, 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 love, 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 strike, strike, love, strike, like constantly. And I'm just like that roller coaster that you're like tick, 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 tick. And it takes me about 4 years to get up there. And then I'll have a blowout, like I'm like, watch out, because now I'm mad. Right now,
Okay.
I have so much more calmness, when I am in what I'm doing. So for someone who's listening, I want counsel for both. So
Mhm.
for the man who's listening and he owns his company, he's got women on his team and maybe in management, maybe he's a solopreneur, maybe he's a plumbing company. It doesn't matter. What counsel do you want to give to him to change his approach, but then also build up? And then I'm going to ask you the same question for the woman CEO who has a
Okay.
man. Yeah.
I would say for any men that are listening, pay attention to the ability of the women on your team to give you the long-term view,
Yeah.
to give you the risk assessment
Hmm.
that you and other leaders on your team may not be seeing,
Hmm.
and to allow for more of their, make more space for women to be heard. Because you, as a man, when a woman talks, you'll perceive her as taking over the conversation because of the way you've been socialized, even if she says only one thing or doesn't speak half as much as the men in the room do. But I want you to deeply listen for the women bringing forth ideas before the other men or stronger voices in the room co-opt them and present them as their own.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So
Been there.
you have a really big job to do of holding the women, and pay also, I would say, educate yourself deeply about the cyclical nature of women,
Yes. Yeah.
because then you yourself will be better able to manage the women under your care.
Yeah.
And you may have to become comfortable with talking about cyclical energy, because the moon is there for everyone. You yourself have cycles,
Hmm.
and you'll be able to harness the capacity of the women that work with you and work with them. Like, you'll yoke together. to work together to make your company better.
Well, and I'm going to mention, so I have a colleague who does this. She's a scientist, right? She's a physician scientist, and she has studied this and
Yes.
these cycles, and it's a biorhythm, right? It's called her biorhythm if you want to go to it, but it's her biorhythm. But it's all based on a book called The Red Tent.
Oh yes, I know The Red Tent. Very good book.
Absolutely wonderful book, right? Yeah, all based on it. And, what I found was interesting. And, listen, you're listening to this. And if you're a man, you're going, oh God, where are we going? Okay.
Don't be scared, honey. Don't be scared.
We're not going to go there because I'm all about business, baby. I am all
about business, though. This is the business of humanity.
This is business.
Business comes out of humanity.
Yeah. And what I've learned is simple things like this. And I just want to relay this to someone who's listening is that, as a woman, there are times in the month that you should not be negotiating.
No.
There are times in the month when you should not be creating.
Exactly.
Times in the month that you shouldn't be speaking, presenting.
No.
Right. And so that's the cycle. And
yes.
I thought, oh my gosh, I realized, nope, no speaking engagements then.
Exactly.
What's going to happen? Or no, can we move the meeting to next week and then I'll be ready to negotiate. I just want to get my ducks in a row.
Yes, exactly. Right. And it's funny because my mentor, Kate Northrup, she talks about even if, because life is lifing, even if you have a speaking engagement on a time when it's not the most optimal time, she talks about how can you bring the energy of that phase of your cycle to the talk.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're giving a presentation, like my most magnetic time is around the new moon, which is contrary to the typical moon cycle. But if I'm giving a presentation on the full moon, which is not my typical time, I try to bring a real rest and reflection energy to it because that is the phase that I'm in.
Yeah.
So I will present and be present differently.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is. But I started cycle syncing my work a couple of years ago when I started working with Kate, and I have never looked back. It is brilliant. Oh,
it's the most amazing thing, isn't
so
it?
Good.
It is.
Yes.
And I think this is important for men to know, but I also think it's important for women to know, if you're in a corporate world. So let's turn this around.
Sure.
You're in the corporate world, you're a CEO. I think it's important for you to know about yourself. To know about women that are, working for you, regardless of, you're a CEO, man or woman. But what's important for a woman to know to elevate their teammates in leadership as well, as we're talking about this masculine and feminine energy?
I think it's really important for women to understand that their power is not going to come from the head the way men's power does.
Yeah.
Their power is fully going to come from their heart and their body and their coochie, frankly.
Yeah.
You've got to take it all the way down to the root.
Yep, it will be.
That is where your power comes from. And if you're running around with your head disconnected and you're ignoring your body, which, we know that the wins from Team No Sleep are bossy, to quote Worth Ethic by, I'll give you the name. She does affirmations for grown-ass women. It's really good. Anyway, but she's like, we know that workaholism is the most rewarded addiction in our culture. We know that this burnout is like a badge, but that's ridiculous. It's not sustainable. It's like everything else we're learning in our life right now, that the way we are living is unsustainable.
Right.
So I think for women, it's very important to get connected to your body, get connected to your heart, learn that you can put the sword down.
Yeah.
You can put the armor down. Now, this is going to require a great leap of trust, because I know many leaders who have been burned, particularly women. They've been glass cliffed, they've been blackballed, whatever. But that was in the before time. And now the world has shifted to where we're entering the age of the crone. So in the past 15, 20 years, it's been all about the tech bros and the young men. And now the way the energy is shifting is into women coming forth as leaders, to the wise women, to the women that are sort of 50 to 70 saying, you know what, we're tired of your, and the world needs to change and we're here to help you change it. I heard somebody call perimenopause coming of rage.
Right. Coming of rage. I know. Well, that's true. That's true. But, I've talked about that too. I have another podcast called Success to Significance: Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. And one of the things that I talk about is the fact that, and as I was putting that podcast together, right, I was going, where am I in my space? Where am I? Because I was transitioning out of corporate, going into full-time entrepreneurship. And I said, my mom didn't have,
Yeah.
she couldn't wait until I got out of school or back into school or whatever. She couldn't wait till I had kids so that she could babysit them. And so she went and worked as a secretary, but she just couldn't wait to quit that job. But I
Yeah.
wasn't built that way. I didn't want to babysit my kids. I wanted someone else to do it. I was happy to pay for them to do it. We're the
Mhm.
first generation that climbed the corporate ladder. We're the first generation. I can speak because I'm in this generation. I'm the
Mhm.
first generation that climbed that corporate ladder, that climbed, that made the salary of six figures,
Mhm.
right? The six figures and beyond, seven figures I ended up making, right?
Yeah.
We're the first ones that had that in the world, and we
Yes.
were tired. I was tired after 40 years. I'm like, what is next? And that's why it's life after breaking through glass ceilings, because now what? I've got so much more to give, so many more years to give, but there's
Mhm.
no generation that I can look to help support that. And so we're all just kind of walking on eggshells trying to figure this out as
Mhm.
my generation starts exiting the workforce, in the next 15, 20 years.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be very, interesting to see. But okay, so that's a woman, but what does she need to do to help men as a leader in her office, in her business, to elevate her business?
I would say let your men be soft.
Cool. Love it. Encourage it, right? Encourage.
Encourage the softness, encourage the humanity. I did a really beautiful workshop for a tech company. And one of the questions I posed, or one of the prompts I posed at the very beginning, was, what are you leaving outside the room today so you can be here?
Hmm. Ooh, that's a great question.
You can have it, copy paste it, use it all the time. What are you leaving outside the room so you can be here? And I
Yeah.
heard the most beautiful stories of, people dealing with caring for their aging relatives, of
Mhm.
death, of sick animals,
And they're
of
not bringing it in.
parties that they're missing, or
Yeah.
just the most beautiful unfolding of the humanity that's there. And to deeply honor and acknowledge,
Mhm.
okay, this is the world we're in. You're here to, we're here to do some work, but let's make sure that this work that we're doing is valuable enough that 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 is, it's, I never want to say it's worth it, because it's pretty, but we have to balance everything we do, right? But let's acknowledge that we're all carrying a load that no one ever sees unless we tell each other. And
Yeah.
what that does is create this beautiful connection
Yeah, I
between
was going to
people.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
I start all my coaching calls with, how are you coming here today? How are you feeling? How
Yeah.
Put a word in the chat that, tells me how you're feeling today as you're coming
Mhm.
in. And my guys are always hesitant, but now they're doing it.
Yeah.
And I do it at the end. I say, how are you feeling as you're leaving here? Are you anxious because you got too much information? Are you feeling inspired? How are you feeling? And I think that, and I even do this with my husband. Unfortunately, my husband had a traumatic brain injury, which softened
Oh,
him.
okay.
Okay. Which, I mean, I'm saying unfortunate for the brain injury, but it softened him. So
Fortunately, yeah. It's
very
the fortunately,
emotional.
unfortunately of the
Right,
story, right?
right. It
Yeah.
softened him, but I
Yeah.
don't say, how you doing today? Because
Mhm.
that's how we could do it. Walk in an office and go,
Right.
hey, how you doing today? How you doing today? Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Right.
Yeah.
It's how are you feeling today? How you
Yeah.
feeling today? How you feeling?
And and what's the vocabulary for that? Because I
Mhm.
think sometimes, so we have, many women have been doing most of the emotional labor most of the time.
Mhm.
I think one of the things women can do for their men is to make the emotional labor explicit, and to tell them what you're doing, and to give them vocabulary to describe the feelings that they're having.
Yeah.
And women, like people in general, don't necessarily have vocabulary to describe the feeling,
Other
and
than
can't
fine.
describe it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Other than fine.
Right. And they can't describe the sensation in their body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, I learned this. Before I started my business years and years ago, when I left university, I was singing in the opera, and I was teaching public school, like teaching music in the public school. And one of the first postings that I ever had was as a kindergarten teacher. And I was so, it's not a great kindergarten teacher, but one of the things we had to teach was feelings. And that was the first time that I even went, oh, okay, there's
Ooh,
only five basic feelings: mad, sad, happy, scared, and then hungry,
watch the
angry, lonely,
movie.
tired.
Watch
It's
the
like,
movie. Right.
right. And it was such a mind-blowing piece for me, that I had almost reached 30 and did not have the most basic language for what I was feeling. And of course, now, it's much more nuanced. I have a much better connection. I've had, what, I don't know, 20 years to work on it, 30 years to work on it. but it giving people vocabulary and giving them access to sensation, because so much of our information comes from the body, not from the brain.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot of work around nervous system healing. There's a lot of work around co-regulation
No.
and getting and using the body as it was meant to be used. And I think that's also really important for growth in teams, to
Yeah.
make the humanity visible, make the emotions explicit, be clear about it.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Okay. So I say it's my last question, and I'll have more questions because I always get that bit. But as we just try to wind down ourselves a little bit here, you know, going back to the dinosaur, right? So there's a graph that I share with people, about all the time. It's like the adoption, right? It's the adoption of new technology, even AI, right? The adoption of it. Oh, I don't want to do it. I want to do it. Eventually, you're going to have to do AI, right? So no matter what it is, eventually you're going to have. I remember watching David Letterman show, and he goes, "Well, explain to us this World Wide Web thing,"
Right.
and it was
Yeah.
pretty funny. But it's the early adopters that will succeed much faster in anything, because by the time the dinosaur makes a decision, they have so much more groundwork that they have to. So you kind of have to imagine a pie being sideways, right? They have so much groundwork to have to reach to get to the other. So how do you approach? Give us some counsel here for someone who's listening. How do you approach this thought process of bringing this and putting this into action in your company so that you can reach a level of success or achievement in this without the him hawing, right? Hey, we're going to bring someone in, we're going to talk about our feelings, right? Oh,
oh my God, what?
I'm going to be sick that day.
We're there.
Yeah. So what's the approach that you've taken with the companies that you've worked with to bring this in so that our businesses who are listening to Business on the Vine, like I heard it through the grapevine that this is the thing I need to start doing, but I don't know how to do it. How do we do
it? It's all baby steps. So
Okay.
because the people who are listening know their companies better than I will ever know them.
Yeah.
They know themselves better than I will ever know them. They are the experts in this area. So what I would invite your listeners to do is to seek the smallest doable yes. The tiniest piece of this that you can do, whether it is doing a simple check-in, like you had said, it's like, how are you feeling today? And then giving some vocabulary around feelings. Great.
Yeah.
If it's going all the way to the root of like, hey, our executive team is back channeling and they're not connecting, we need to have the tough conversation. Let's get to it. The way I start my most difficult conversations, because often companies will hire me to have the tough conversations
For them. Yeah.
to
Ooh.
help facilitate those conversations.
Yeah.
And almost always the way I start is by being incredibly clear. And I say, here's the data on bringing emotion into the workplace. Here's how this is going to benefit your team. So I talk about what's in it for them.
Yeah.
And then I always go to acknowledgement first. And I'll say something like, okay, I want each of the members on this team to write down on a post-it note, or I love post-it notes, write down on a post-it note something that you wish to acknowledge about the other people on this team. So if you're on my team, Lady Jen, I would say, I really want to honor and acknowledge Lady Jen for her deep business acumen and strategic ability. In particular, right? Give a specific example. Yeah. Or I really want to acknowledge Joe for his ability to produce under any circumstance. Mm-hmm. Even though, Joe, you probably could ease off a little bit so you don't have a heart attack, but I still appreciate your ability to get it done. Right. And so it's who do I want to acknowledge? And then also, what acknowledgement do I want and from whom?
Yeah.
So to ask for, it's like, okay, Lady Jen, I would like you to acknowledge me for the work that I did on the last project, right. Specifically that we were down 2 headcount and we still met our deadlines and we were under budget. I want that to be publicly acknowledged in this forum.
Yeah.
And just to surface those kinds of things. So I always go with what's in it for you, and then acknowledgement first, and then we build from there, because both of those things build connection in the team. And that's the place to start, I find.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And, and I think it's heartfelt, and I think it can be done, in any environment whatsoever. And I think there are more men entrepreneurs who are open to this as opposed to the traditional corporate environment, right? Because
Oh,
I was just talking to someone yesterday on another podcast who's coming out of the corporate world and into, this world that you and I are in. Not
mhm.
everybody's in it who's listening, but they're
That's
coming out of the
true.
corporate world. And he's like, there's just so many things that I never thought of. There's so many things that I'm learning. There's so many tidbits, that I didn't know. And he goes, and it's just really it's not holding me back. He goes, it's slapping me in the face. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. It's like slapping me in the chest and going, hey, you aren't as good as you think you are, buddy. You
Oh,
got a test, right? And I'm going, oh, and so as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about him this whole time going, he's going through this transformation right now, this identity transformation of, hey, what worked there doesn't work here all the time.
right. That's right. Because I think corporations have such structured systems,
Yeah,
particularly in large corporations, and
yeah,
they have an over reliance on the systems and an over
yeah,
reliance on the hierarchy and an over reliance on the title to create structural relationships.
yeah, yeah,
Then you can rely on your title for
mm,
power,
yeah,
right? But even corporations are changing. Like the smaller corporations I see, it's interesting because I'll see like startups, for example, start out in this great way. They're really like energetic, and then they need to make that shift into a more mature, like they have to have their teenager stage,
yep,
their young
yep.
adult
Yeah, go
stage.
from baby to teenager. Yep,
Right. And the leader that is great at starting is not great at continuing.
yeah,
It's an
yeah,
entirely different skill set.
yeah,
And so I think for those leaders, honestly, the best thing you can do for yourself is check your ego.
yeah, yeah,
Check your
yeah.
ego
Because you
because
can't do
that's
it
not
all
going to serve
yourself.
you.
Yeah, you
No,
can't do it all yourself. You aren't the best in
not.
the world anymore. And
Oh,
I know this very specifically because this is specifically what I coach on.
oh
Is
yeah, great. Yeah, you know.
right? This leap that
Yes.
takes you from, working in and on your business to above and beyond. And you've got to be a leader and you've got to take a different role that you never had, maybe never had before, and I
Mhm.
think it's very interesting. So I want to,
Can I just add one thing to that I
yeah,
find interesting if we have
please.
time?
Yeah.
Is I also think people think I need to play this role. Like they have an idea of what a leader is in their mind. But
Mhm.
I think true leadership does not begin from the role. True leadership begins from who am I as a person? And
Absolutely.
what am I meant to do on this planet? And
Yeah.
how can I use my work to further my purpose on the planet for the good of the planet?
Yeah. And of your team,
It's a,
right?
yeah, it's a real inside job. And then
Yeah.
the ripple effect of that is significant because
Yeah.
I know that every leader I've worked with, when they are much clearer and much more connected in themselves, their team automatically settles. It's like parents, right? If the parents are clear, the kids are okay.
Right. If the parents are chaotic, so are the kids.
Totally,
Yeah.
so are the kids.
That's why I said I think that relationship starts with the person,
That's right.
right? It starts with that. It starts with the leader having that relationship with themselves and knowing where they stand and, and all those pieces. I love it. I love it. I
And I
love it.
like to, I'm like, the water is warm, dudes, over here. Like,
Yeah.
you're scared to jump in because it looks a little deep,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
so warm. Oh, you're gonna love it. You're
I
just gonna
love it.
sigh of relief when you get in.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to ask you this question. I'm just curious about this. So if you weren't a consultant for this, what would you be doing? What's your other thing?
Well, I sing quite a lot, so I'm working on a Brahms song cycle this year, so I would sing more. But honestly, I'd probably be a priestess hermit in a cabin somewhere on the mountaintop that people would have to come and see me.
Oh God. Oh God.
Like, burning things and doing witchy shit. That's what I'd be doing.
Which is
Pardon my
very
language,
funny
but
because here
honestly, I
you
would be
are.
out dancing naked in the rain. That is what I
Right,
would be doing.
right. Oh my gosh, that's so funny because this coming from someone who helps people with people connection,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
It's,
I know.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
now
I would
look,
still
I'm not
connect with
putting
people. Yeah, I would still connect with people, but I would be more likely for them to come find me.
right, right. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. My husband is funny. He's in sales with me, and then
Yes.
he'll say to someone, "I hate people. I don't like people." And I go,
Oh,
"But you're in sales. You don't get it. There's a
well,
reason and a
is it?
season for being
Yeah.
with people, and I get, oh, that's okay,
Is it that you hate people, or you just hate some of the things that people do because they've been
Right. He doesn't like
traumatized?
people. Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Seriously. If
I
we
know.
didn't have trauma, we wouldn't have the way the world is. I heard somebody say, maybe it was Khalil Gibran, the poet, or other spiritual leaders have said it, but they're like, what we're seeing in the world right now is the result of thousands of years of uncried tears.
Yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
so go cry, like
Okay.
just
It's
like
okay.
please.
Well, that
Put the
happened to me.
backlog.
I know that happened to me. So if you're watching this and you see that I have a black eye, I want you to know that it was because of a Starbucks mug that decided to jump out of the cabinet onto
Oh
my.
no.
It, was, it wasn't my husband, but when it happened, I went, "Ow, that really hurts." And then I thought for a second, I went, "No, it really, really hurts. I think I'm going to cry. I think I'm going
Yeah,
to cry about
cry.
this."
Yes, cry. You get hit in the face with the hard, sharp star. But by the way, that looked very sparkly, so that looked really cool. But when it hits you, like, yes, you need to cry. We are past the point of suck it up, because that is not doing anybody any favors
Nobody,
anywhere. And that doesn't mean, like, you still need to find the appropriate container
of
in
course.
which to put your grief and your sadness and sorrow.
Yeah,
But come on, if somebody's breaking down in front of you, it means they like hold them.
right. They
It means
hurt.
they trust you enough to show you their
They,
pain. So
yeah,
just sit. Just sit. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to offer them a tissue. You don't have to hug or comfort them. You're not fixing anything. You're just sitting there. And the power of just sitting there
being.
when someone is in pain is so powerful.
It's about the presence, you know,
Yes.
exactly what you are, the presence expert.
Yeah.
Okay, so what quote would you like to leave with everybody? Something, some
Mm.
mantra that you use, some acronym that you use, some quote that you love, based
Well,
on what we've talked
anyway,
about today.
there's so many. My favorite is Q-tip. I like to practice Q-tip. Quit taking it personally.
Ah, I
My
love
favorite.
that. I've never heard that before.
Oh yeah, there you go. I can't take credit for it. I can't remember where I heard it.
Oh, Q-tip.
But
Is it
Q-tip, yeah,
stop being Q-tip?
quit quit taking it personally.
Right, but is it stop being a Q-tip, or is it, oh, you're a
No,
Q-tip?
no, I'm practicing Q-tip.
Oh, okay. You're practicing. I got
Yes,
it. Okay.
I quit taking it personally
Okay.
because
Got it.
virtually nothing has anything to do with me. Quit taking it personally.
I'm already telling my husband he's going to be Q-tip. Because
No, 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 no,
personally.
no. Right. Practice Q-tip, right? Quit taking it personally. It's not personal.
Okay.
And the other thing that I often talk to clients about is I say, go within to go without.
Ooh. Okay.
You
That's
want to put
deep.
it out in the world, the first place to go is in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Beautiful. Well, it's been such a pleasure. And we have all of the links below so that everyone can get in touch with you. And I know that you have a new program coming out as well that you were talking about, and we'll make sure that we'll have the link for that. If someone wants to reach out to you and have you come into their company, into their coaching calls, you know, this is one of the things I think is so important is, you know, to go into other people's coaching calls
Yeah, totally.
as much as we possibly can, because you're bringing something I don't bring.
Yeah, and vice versa.
And
This is what I love. It's like we're all on the transition team.
yeah.
This,
Yes.
we were born into this time and this place right
Yeah.
now because we are here to facilitate the transition into something better. So for everyone listening that's looking at the dumpster fire and freaking out, don't freak out. We're in like another 10-year cycle of winter, but we are here to transition. So every time someone says I'm a leadership coach, I'm like, thank God. Thank God Lady Jen is over there doing her work because I don't have to do that work. And then she'd
Right.
be like, thank God Catherine's over there doing her work. So I don't have to do that work. Phew.
Yes.
We're on the same team and we're all doing the same work. So
Yeah.
keep doing the work.
I love it. I love that. Keep doing the work. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be with us as well. And I really just remind you, have those deep conversations, ask people how they're feeling, right? Don't be a dinosaur. Learn to change, go with the flow. Think about being more about the water because it's more powerful and it will wear down the rock. So those are some of the takeaways that I took from this. And I just want to thank you again for being here. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you for joining us on Business on the Vine. If you found value in today's conversation and would like additional support, go to supportfromjen.com. Remember, the best ideas are always discovered on the vine. So keep innovating, stay inspired, and continue to grow.